Putin Bad News Putin is most concerned that Russia will vanish because of the conflict in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin, the strongman of Russia, is sometimes correct in his policies. Usually what he says is either nonsense or propaganda, but every once in a while he throws in some truth. Putin essentially denied the existence of Russians in an interview with the TASS news agency on February 26. Putin made a remarkable statement after claiming that the West has one goal: to liquidate the Russian Federation. If the West is successful in dismantling Russia and establishing control over its constituent parts, Putin warned, the Russian people might not be preserved. However, there will be Muscovites, Uralites, and others. A distinction that does not exist in English must be remembered. When referring to people of Russian ancestry, Russians use the term Ruski, while when referring to people living in the Russian Federation, they use the term Rossiyski. Putin made a key linguistic choice when he referred to the Russian people by the ethnic qualifier Ruski. It's not hard to picture the Rossiyski people splitting apart if the Russian Federation were to collapse, a scenario that is currently being discussed actively in Russia and abroad, by both supporters and opponents of Putin's regime. There would be a lot of breakaway regions outside of Russia. This trend could spread to other parts of Russia, especially those further from the capital. Putin's suggestion, however, that ethnic Russians might also fracture amounts to a denial of their shared nationalism and identity. In other words, Putin claims that Russians do not constitute a nation. Putin's claim is also a tacit admission that imperial expansion led to the formation of the Russian Federation. Before Peter the Great founded the Russian Empire in the early 18th century, the area around Moscow was known as the Muscovite state. The Muscovites, who established the Muscovite state, eventually came to dominate all of Moscow's rivals, including the Novgorodians, who had their own nation. Putin has, in effect, admitted that Russia is an empire and that the so-called Russian people are a fabricated nationality created through imperial conquest and assimilation. If Putin is correct, there would be policy repercussions to consider. Even if the Russian Federation does collapse under the weight of Putin's criminal war and ludicrous schemes, the Russians will not engage the non-Russians in a bloody confrontation. Rather than waging war against their non-Russian neighbors, the Russians are more likely to form coalitions with them. The disintegration of Russia might be peaceful. To the surprise of no one, Putin may have eased Westerners' worries about the demise of the Russian Federation. Perhaps this is even more motivation to show that Putin was wrong. Russia is suffering heavy losses due to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. However, how much worse could it get? Would this spell doom for Russia?